Hello, Russ, and anyone else who might be watching. This is Mud Part 3. Let's go ahead and get started. So Mud Part 3 obviously introduces internet connectivity, and we're certainly going to go over that in here. We have, obviously, these are imports. So we have the global listening address declared right here. I made it 3410, just like the example. I did make some modifications to the couple things, like for example, I added the list of players, and then I added this to essentially mainly work with Whisper, because that was a bit of a problem at times. I added an additional string and a reference to the player, so a reference to a player class as parameters for the commands. So we also added the players themselves right here, and their connections and everything like that. And I added the input and output events as well. Now, if we scroll down here, the other things we added, I did not change add command very much. I did add the string and then the player, just so we can interact with that. I added quit, gossip, shout, say, and whisper. Now, those were not here last time, so those are obviously to communicate with the players, and then quit is to quit actually out of the network. This was something I brute forced it last time, and then I did a little bit of collaboration with someone, and then I was like, yo, like, this is actually a good idea, where we made it a lot easier to handle commands, certain commands, to ask if it's a prefix or not, which later we end up using the do command right here. So if that makes sense. So we use that, we use is prefix right about, oh, I'm not seeing it. I know it's in here somewhere. Right here. This was for like the shout and the gossip and stuff like that, and all that stuff. And then yeah, that's where we primarily used it. Now, another thing we did, a lot of things we had to do was we had to change printf to fprintf, which was another thing just so it could work with the network. And that was a lot of the case right here, looking at these north, south, east, west, up, and down commands right there, is we had to change that. So that essentially was what happened with that, and that's the main changes there. Again, same changes are here as well, where we did fprint line well. Then we have the whisper command. So with whisper, essentially, we take in a string, we take in two strings, the initial command, the message, and the player. And so we have to first obviously check if the player exists, and whether or not they, not only can they exist, that specifically checks if it exists right there, but we also have to check if it's a valid whisper, and if it's not, we return that, or we don't return it, we print it. Now, if it is, what we do is on the player's connection, so on the player's connection, we say, hey, you sent this message to so-and-so, there you go. And then from the other player's perspective, we say, hey, from this person, this message came through. Now with say, we essentially we establish the range of where we want to print this at, right? And this is to check if this is to make sure we can print, but if we can't, if it's invalid, then well, not print, say something, then we get that print statement right there. If we can, again, hey, player name, so on and so forth, there you go. Now the next thing is shout and gossip work very similarly, but just on different layers. So for example, shout does that, and gossip this right here. Again, they work very, very similarly to say, but they just work on different layers. Now there were some subtle changes to read zones. I can't remember what all of them are. There was one major change that I had to make, I believe, just due to the fact, right here, I had to change this right here, because I had to add the players, because we added players in the zones and the rooms as well. And I'm scrolling past a bunch of comments, bunch of old code now that I kept a hold of. Now, read rooms, I don't remember changing read rooms. Well, no, I did change this as well. I added the players right there. Read exits, I did not change read exits. I very much do not remember changing read exits. Now, listening for the connections itself, this took a bit. No, this was actually just pulled straight from the example pretty much. Handling the connections took a bit, because you might notice I have a lot of old code right here, and so handling the connections, we had to actually like put the player in the starting room to begin with in the first place, right? So we, whenever a player connects, we say, hey, your name is this, right? We put that all in, we scan it, you know, we actually like put him in the list of players, we put him in the default room, which is 3001, essentially a recall command almost. We append it to the list of players. Yep, that right there. And yeah, the append statements in Go are weird. Go is just a weird language. It's honestly a language I struggle with. But yeah, and this reads off online players. I have the word off right next to online, but that's a little confusing, but no, it just reads off the online players. Then we have just right here, this is a lot of stuff that I just had before from the example. Now, this guy, the main, in order to get it to successfully connect, I had to use this guy right here. I had to use my input. I had to use the input channel. I had to go listen for the connections and put the main loop right after I initialized all the commands. And I took out the command loop because the main loop essentially replaces the command loop in this case. Now, the main loop, it essentially is asking for server events. It's very similar to the command loop, but works on a network level. Now, then we have the command recall. Oh, actually, I already went over that. Command quit. This took a bit of finding, but essentially, it prints to the player, hey, catch you later, and then it closes the connection right there. So, let me pull up my Linux subsystem, and we'll go run it, and we'll go have a great time with that. So mud 3 right there. Okay, cool. I'm gonna go build this first, prove that it builds successfully. Now mud 3, bam, right there. This is the server, and the server has that anyways. And then I'm going to do local, telnet localhost 3410 right there. Now we can put our name in. Let's say I'm Dan. Dan is now online, and we can look around. We can go north, so on and so forth. We can recall like that. We can smile. And then what is more important here is that we can communicate with other players. So if I do telnet localhost on this machine right here and create a new user, 3450, 3410, and Bob. Now, if Bob says hi, so Bob says hi, says, hey, Bob said hi, and then Bob said hi over here, we can whisper. We can whisper to Dan, hello. From Bob, hello, to Dan, hello. We can gossip, saying, I like cookies. And it did shrink it down without the spaces right there. I probably could do some basic edits. There's a little bit of formatting I can do to fix some of this, but you know, here we are. And we can say shout. I think that's the one I did not do. Shout. Ow. See, now we're shouting, and then of course we can do it obviously in the inverse direction as well. So Dan said ow this time. And I believe that is, if we're looking back at the commands, those are the main commands that I implemented right there. And we can go from there. Oh, and quit. We need to talk about quit. So one thing that we have to make sure is that the server does not shut down when we quit, right? So we quit, catch you later now, connection closed by foreign host. This connection's still going, and my boy Bob can still do his thing. Cool. All right, and that is mud part 3, effectively on that assignment. If you have any questions, Russ, you let me know, and thank you all for watching.